Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we're talking with Richard Galdieri.
That's right.
Did I do it right? Okay. Phew. I always struggle with
it's a
names.
Mouthful.
Aren't they all? Even the simple ones I can stumble over and mutilate.
A lot of vowels.
Yeah. It's a cool name, though. Is it Italian?
It is Italian, yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So, you're all about helping people quit alcohol. I like that.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got started, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I got started with the drinking or the quitting? The two different
Let's start
starting
with
points.
the drinking.
Yeah, the drinking started 16-ish. I take that back. I think when we were younger, we would take the little 7-ounces from my grandfather's refrigerator because they seemed like they would disappear easily. So just a curiosity, me and my cousins, and it was just this thing that it was just going to happen, right? Alcohol was just, there was no question we were going to drink. It was just a matter of when and how quickly we could get our hands on it. So I think it was sophomore year, about 16, and we got our hands on a bottle of Jim Beam of all things, which is even to this day gross sounding to me, but we passed that around and finished it off, and like 3 of us, and ended up with our heads in the toilets and all that kind of thing. And that was my illustrious start of my drinking career. And kind of didn't look back from there. I think there was probably a little bit of a lull where it wasn't quite drinking bottles of Jim Beam, but that identity was pretty ingrained in me. I had some older cousins, no brothers and sisters, so my cousins were like brothers and sisters, and they were all in college or almost in college, or higher up in high school. So the parties and the drinking was just kind of a foregone conclusion. And so it's just more and more, anytime I could get my hands on it and do it, it was just what I wanted to do. And then it became the defining thing. I was the party guy, I could drink a lot, I could chug a beer, whatever it was just became the defining aspect of me and an identity thing. All the way through college, out of college, didn't really slow down. I don't think you ever really slow down with alcohol. You build the tolerance and you can just drink more and more. Obviously a lot of things in there that I regret having done. And then it came to, I had tried quitting numerous times on my own. I'm just going to stop. And I go a little while, like what you keep hearing, right? People do this all the time. They quit month, week, that Super Bowl comes up. Well, not going to not drink there, whatever the event may be. There's always some reason down the line for you to be drinking. And so, it was around the winter time, and I watch hockey, and so they play a lot of games, and so I had to drink it, and I just got to a point, this is in 2019, and I said, I really got to figure something out. And right around then, serendipitously, my friend gave me a book, Annie Grace's This Naked Mind, and I listened to it on tape while I was doing walks, which was right around the beginning of the pandemic and lockdowns were starting, and everything I heard resonated completely, and I was really ready, and it was such a different approach that I gained what you would call instantaneous sobriety, and what Annie calls instantaneous sobriety. I had no relapses, if you will, or no going back, and just her whole process and mentality just fit with me perfectly. And the fact that the pandemic was coming and everyone was stocking up with alcohol, made it even more, that actually motivated me to be like, that's not going to be me, because I already gotten enough information and was far enough down the line to say, nope, this is it. I'm done, and never look back, and can be around it. And I have zero desire. So I think the biggest difference for me is the difference between, struggling to not do something, which means you're focusing on it, versus just being completely indifferent to it. And I think that's what Annie's process, and This Naked Mind, helped me do and helps many people do. And that's why her success rate is so high. And so I loved it so much. I wanted to help more people experience that, and get to that point. And eventually her coaching program came along. So I took that and got certified as a This Naked Mind coach. And now, as you mentioned, I like to help people stop drinking.
That is an amazing story, and it's so relatable to many, many people. And starting, I don't know, well, I do know, even younger generations, they start drinking in high school. They think
Mhm,
it's cool.
mhm.
They may get in trouble for it, that they keep doing it. And it takes a really strong person in a lot of cases to just stop
Yeah,
once you start that young. And your whole friend group gets involved in it. It does become your identity, and everybody you know is doing that. And it's like you can't imagine a life that's different than that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. To the younger generation, I have friends with kids in high school who are teaching them how to drink, showing them what they should have and how they should have. Well, they're going to do it anyway, so why not let them do it in the house, or why not make in this controlled environment, or let them know where their limits are and things like that. And I took the opposite approach with my kids, and I have one in college and one in high school and then a little one, and none of them drink. They just, I mean, my son, he's the college kid. I mean, he will from time to time, but he's usually the designated driver. He's like, I just don't really have a desire, and I never told him he couldn't, but I just tried to give him the facts, and show him what it does, and explain some things that not getting into too much detail about my own life, that hopefully resonated with them. But yeah, very, very proud of them for, not just doing it because I told them not to, but they're just not big into it. So, and there is a group of people that are not big drinkers I'm seeing now. Like in college, I didn't know anybody that wasn't a complete lush. So it's nice to see that that exists.
Yeah, there is a balance
Yeah.
for some people, not everybody. And usually, if you start out young and you're around everybody who are lushes, you're you're going to end up. From my own personal experience, my ex-brother-in-law died of alcoholism.
Mm.
I mean, his
Okay.
liver was blown out. He used to drink like the big, is that a fifth?
Handle.
The,
I don't know how much it is, but a handle. Yeah, the big one.
yeah, 2 days and
Yeah.
Pepsi. And
Oof.
Pepsi itself, if you drink that much
Right.
Pepsi, it'll kill you. It's
Yeah.
just it's that bad for you. But to add alcohol on top of that,
Yeah.
he died when he was maybe 40. I mean, he
Oof.
was not that old.
Sorry to hear that.
My ex-brother-in-law lost 3/4 of his liver, and he only drank beer. I mean, he never drank hard alcohol.
Wow.
I watched my mom, who struggled with psoriasis. I mean, we're talking like she looked like a burn victim,
Yeah.
bad
Oh boy.
psoriasis,
Wow.
wouldn't quit drinking. And probably if she'd just given up the alcohol, she would have, she'd be alive now. I mean,
Yeah.
just like the things and lengths people will go to hang on to something that doesn't even give you that. I mean, my ex-husband, he's divorced because of alcohol. It was just like he wouldn't give it up. And it made
It's
him
crazy.
excused behavior that was really bad. He did finally quit. He quit about, I don't know, 15 years ago now, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, 15 years ago now. He's been
nice.
sober this whole time, and great guy. Really love going to see him. And our families are weird because we're blended.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm so proud of him that he did it, and he's stuck to it, and he's got a great relationship with his his one son. His daughter is having, she's got her
Troubles.
own challenges.
Yeah.
She's a great gal to
Yeah.
really trying, but alcohol just, it destroys anything that's really good in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
And
can. It
it
doesn't have
can.
to, but
And the more when you come to the other side, if you will, and I hate to call it sides because it sounds,
mhm,
caustic almost, but when you see it from another perspective, let's say that from a non-drinker's perspective, you start seeing the pervasiveness of drinking in society. And even though something is so detrimental to you physically and mentally and your health, it's so accepted and so acceptable that people just can't imagine another life without it, and that's where and then it is an addictive substance, and it's a poison. So you're
mhm.
addicted to poison, and it's accepted. I mean, I've seen it all the time. You would get more questions. I get more questions when I say I don't drink than if I said I drink. Whereas if I said I do heroin, everyone would think I was crazy. And if I told them I quit heroin, they would praise me. But I do it the other way in alcohol, and it's the complete opposite. So there's really a big societal factor that's slowly but surely turning. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities and big high profile people that have quit, and it's starting to become more acceptable to be alcohol free. Thankfully, I think it's a great time for it, and I think Annie's method is just phenomenal in getting people there. So I'm sorry to hear about the folks you've lost, and I think a lot of us have that. Good friend of mine, same thing, a handle a day, big guy, but a full handle a day. His
Yeah,
house was littered, and he was found by himself in the bathroom. I mean, just terrible, terrible stuff happens. So
and
yeah,
it's
it's
like, why subject yourself to that? To
mm.
I mean, I do drink wine, but not like that.
And some people can. I was not that guy. I was not a one beer guy. Couldn't do it. I mean, I tried numerous times. Like I'll have one, and I think it was Mark Twain maybe said it, one of those old crazy dudes with the furry mustaches said you have a drink, then the drink has a drink, and then the drink has you, or something like that. But that was
Yeah,
totally true of me. I'd have one, and you're drinking something, and you start out the night with like, I'm going to be responsible, I'm not going to drink too much, I'm not going to drive, and then you have a drink of something that completely destroys your sense of right and wrong and judgment. And then you're supposed to hold on to these clear choices that were obviously the right choices to make in the beginning, but you're slowly dwindling those down. And we've all seen the person who can barely stand up saying they're fine to drive. It's just it's a bad substance. I mean, there's no question about it. It's not good, not healthy. But
I
again, some people listen. My wife can have a wine and be totally fine with one glass, and good for her. I don't mind it.
I'm
I don't care if anybody else is drinking, but I can't do it.
I'm like that. I can have a glass of wine and enjoy it with a meal and be good. But I have lots of rules around
Mhm.
alcohol. It's like, you drink any alcohol during the day and you are not driving anywhere all
Right,
day.
right.
So it's just like, and it's a hard, fast rule for me. And I won't let anybody that I'm with
Right.
drink and then drive.
That's good.
It's like, it's
So yeah,
weird.
I want to clarify
Just
that
like
though.
quit entirely. It's kind of silly.
Right, right. But I say I can't do that, but it's not that I can't and I struggle to not do that. I can't do it, meaning I've tried that. It didn't work for me. But
Mhm.
I'm actually in a place where I have absolutely no desire. And you could wave it under my nose, and again, this is to Annie's credit. It's become an indifference. So, I always say hate is not the opposite of love. I had a client who's one of her major issues was going through a breakup and really, really hated the guy. And I said, you're still putting a very strong emotional amount of energy into this person, even though it seems like hate is okay and it's not love. I'm like, it's just the other side of it, but it's still not indifference. You need indifference if you ever want to move past it. And I got to that indifference part. So yeah, I say I can't do that when about having a single drink, but I don't even want to. I have absolutely no desire. So it's a slight distinction there. And it's,
It's a
my
big
rule is easy. I
distinction,
just don't need
actually.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. But
A
yeah,
lot of people
there's
think hate is the opposite of love, but it isn't. Indifference
right.
is, It's way more
100%.
cruel when it comes to people too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you don't care about someone, they'll be much more upset with you. But yeah, it's been just fascinating and amazing. And I didn't have to count the days. I looked into AA, and that just wasn't my style at all, because I think AA, while it helps people, and if it helps and works for somebody, great, but I think it's very much about making you wrong and making you the problem, when in actuality it's the substance is the problem, not you. Um, yes, you made the decision to try it, but from there it's the substance, and it's societal pressures and a lot of other things that make it, and not to pass
It's
blame, but you're
glamorous.
not
I
a
mean, it's
bad
on
person.
TV.
Yeah, you're not a bad. You know what? So again, now you see things from another perspective. I watch kids, so I still have a young child, and now since I've quit, watching all these cartoons, and almost every, Disney, Pixar, you name the big studios, there's alcohol in every one of those movies
Mhm.
at some point, and it's always made to look cool, or as a way to connect with people, or so it's from a very young age we're being taught that this is how you act as an adult,
Mhm.
and so it's just when you see that, I remember when I first started watching like old movies when I had little kids, and seeing like the content and the language that was being used when I was watching these movies from the 70s and 80s. I'm pretty old. And I was like, oh my God, I can't show my kids this, but I didn't realize it then. So you start seeing these things, and yeah, alcohol is it's extremely pervasive, and they start you young. I know when I want to say I was not even in high school yet, or maybe I must have been in high school, because my cousin was already there, and we had Budweiser sheets. He somehow found sheets for our bed that were Budweiser, and my pillow was the label. And to this day, I can say the whole thing on the label of a Budweiser beer. Like, I memorized it before I was 16. I mean, how crazy is that? I
My
mean, I guess you
parents
can't
used to
stop the selling
laugh
sheets.
that I learned to walk to a Red Label beer can.
Yeah,
They thought it was funny. And they
yeah,
used to think it was funny when the kids would go around and drink out of the adult glasses when they're babies,
yeah, yeah,
parties that they were
yeah.
having.
I know it. I know it. Hopefully it's changing. I know my grandfather, when he was a kid, they used to prescribe cigarettes. So hopefully we're turning the corner. Hopefully we've moved past that. It's good and it's okay, but it's still
And I
out
hope they
there.
don't go to soda pop as like an alternative, because that is
Yeah,
just as
right.
bad. I mean, I've
Right,
seen people quit drinking beer and then they're suddenly guzzling, 6 packs of soda.
right.
That'll
Yeah,
kill you too.
that's really bad stuff. Yeah, really bad. And sugar's pretty addictive. So
It's just another addictive
just
substance
another
out
addictive
there.
substance. Yeah. I think you can
It's
drive
cheap.
better on sugar, but other than that, it's very bad.
Yeah, up until the
Some.
part where you have a heart attack,
Right,
go
exactly.
into a diabetic coma.
Right. So yeah, that's my journey thus far, and it continues. But yeah, the best part is when I had one client say they had contemplated suicide, and I've had others that have just had breakthroughs that they couldn't make for years that I've helped them with, and I'm just there to help. I don't take a lot of credit for that. My goal in the coaching is to help people see stuff from a different perspective, because I think a lot of times an old Grateful Dead lyric actually is, once in a while you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. And so I've always carried that with me, that the perspective is really what it's all about. And so I just try and help people get to a different one. Use a lot of analogies for that.
Yeah, that's a noble course you've chosen. And I
Yeah,
know
thank you.
this isn't even your day job. Your day job is
No,
something totally different.
that's right. The day job is number one, because that does pay the bills. But yeah, when Annie's coaching came, I jumped at the chance because I'd been asking, like I said, and it was more of a coach as a career. And while I love that idea, I truly did just want to kind of help people. But there are expenses in doing that, and so yeah, I don't look at it as something. I don't want to have the pressure of like I've got to go make money out of coaching, and so that I like being in that place where I'm just helping people that are ready to be helped and come to me and want to do it. Yeah.
So how would somebody know if they were like ready to do what you're talking about? How could they,
I
what's the
think,
test?
you have these rock bottoms, I call them. It doesn't always have to be a rock bottom, but there's always that moment, and not the moment when you wake up and you're hungover and I never want to do this again. But if you're really questioning alcohol and what kind of role you want it to play in your life, then I think that's enough. I think then you have to explore what's out there. And I think a great place to start is Annie Grace's book, This Naked Mind. She comes at it from a very compassionate perspective, and it's a fantastic way to get. And I think by the end of that book, you'll know for sure. And you can. I listened to it. I didn't read it. I'm a big reader, but that one I happened to listen to. But yeah, I think that's really it. You do have to have some desire. It can't just be like, oh, I got a DUI, I need to quit. Right? That's never going to work if you don't really want it want to question and change. So there's kind of a coachability there, right? Do you have the desire to change and the desire to learn something new and to get outside your comfort zone? And the more you can be coachable and teachable in that way, then the more open you'll be to these concepts, because your subconscious mind will just fight the things that Annie's talking about. Like, but no, I do need to have it at the Super Bowl, and all these things that we've been I don't want to say taught, but that's been ingrained in these beliefs
Well, it comes up.
we've conjured up. Yeah, they come up, and your subconscious just wants to argue with it, and so you have to be ready to do a little battle.
And there's tools for doing that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of them depending on the situation. I think the biggest one is really self-compassion, to be honest. And just being able to say, that it's okay. You're not broken. You're not wrong. You're not a bad person because you do this. Once you can do that, you can sort of detach a little bit and step back. And I think that's a big piece of it too. It's kind of more of a stoic type philosophy, but to be able to look at this from a third person perspective, and just take a look at things from a factual perspective instead of being really emotionally engaged in it. And so that's why that morning after is an emotional, I don't want to drink. But if you're questioning in your head and you feel like you're open to exploring the possibility, then you can be a little detached from it and be like, yeah, I do see that now, and be open and curious to hear a concept and then go out and take a look and see if it is. I think it was Seneca, if I'm not mistaken, who said it takes is is an educated mind that can hear a fact and choose not to accept it, something along those lines. But kind of the opposite of that is to be able to hear something and then go out and see, is that true? Is it true for me? Those kind of things really can. That's where you'll know, like, yeah, I think I'm ready to explore it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have like all these questions. So how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to it. Annie's got a process for it. She calls it the path, and there's an act in there, and lots of little acronyms. But it's really just breaking down the belief and the thoughts that you have around that belief, and questioning them. Is it true? Is it true for me? Which is a Brene Brown type of process. Um, but yeah, you have. So do you want me to jump into how I feel about beliefs and identities and things like that? So I look at a belief as a cycle of emotions, feelings, and thoughts. But the emotions and the feelings are on the subconscious level, and that's like our monkey brain, or our ape brain, or whatever you want to call it. But that's the instinctual stuff, right? And then the thought will come based on that. So a lot of people think you have the thought and then you have the feeling. I think it comes the other way around. And the way I explain that is, if you were in the jungle and you saw a lion come around the corner, you would feel a lot more things before you would think anything, right? Your body would go ice cold, you would freeze, right? You have a lot more of the feeling and emotion before the thought comes. Then the thought is, do I run? Do I not run? Right? Then you start thinking about it. And so as humans, we have that extra frontal lobe that gets our thinking. And so the only way to change the subconscious is to use our only tool, which is the conscious mind, or the liminal thoughts. So when you have this constant thought pattern and belief pattern, or I should say thought, emotion, feeling pattern, that becomes a belief, and something that you then start acting on without thinking about it. And when you tie a bunch of these beliefs together, you create a whole identity. And so what Annie's, the identity is, I'm a drinker, but then you have all these beliefs around it that support that and hold it up. And so Annie's process is to take these little beliefs and cut those anchors off, so you can kind of turn that ship and make a change to the actual belief. And you do that liminally or with your mind of when you hear those beliefs coming up, you have to argue with your subconscious and say, no, that's not true. Because your subconscious mind is designed to protect you, even though the things it's keeping you doing are harmful, like drinking, right? I mean, the folks that you talk about that drink themselves to death, their subconscious mind really thinks they're protecting them from something. And so I don't want to do this, but the subconscious will say, yeah, but this is how we stay safe. And it's really hard to break out of that if you're not really cognitively looking at it and working on it. And that's the whole process of coaching, is trying to determine like I have my clients write down when that thing pops into their head, write down that thought, because then you can just start arguing against that thought. Because later on you'll look at that and be like, yeah, but that's not true. And sometimes we do it right in the moment, but sometimes it takes a while. And then you start, and then every time that thought comes up and you can argue it, eventually your subconscious mind goes, oh, okay, that's not what we think. What do we think? Right? The subconscious is taking your direction. But once it's in there and it's ingrained and it's a belief, you have to, you're in that rut. You've got to break those synapses and whatever else, and you got to break out of it. And so that's the process we go through. So it's different for everyone. I mean, a lot of similarities and a lot of things that are, common with people and where they're at. But that's the basic process.
Is it like AA where you just like, this is the last drink, I'm never doing this again?
Not at
How
all.
is it? How is it different in that?
Yeah, so completely opposite with Annie's process. The first part of that path that I mentioned is pause. So, and it's not pause drinking; it's pause not drinking. So, if you're saying I want to stop drinking and you don't want to drink, what are you thinking? I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink. I can't drink at this time. Can't drink at that. All you're thinking about is not drinking, right? It's like you break up with someone, you hate them. All you can think about is they did this, they did that, they did that. They're taking your consuming every moment of your thought. So when you're trying to quit and you don't have the tools, you're just consuming your day with thoughts of alcohol. And that's almost impossible. It's impossible to withhold, which is why AA has that's a bad word to use. They don't have a great success rate. And also why, where self-compassion comes in. But it's also when you're in that state, you're not open. So what I just said, that you have to be open and curious and teachable and coachable, you're not open and coachable when you're just fixated on the thing that you can't have. It's like wanting to lose weight and sticking a chocolate cake in front of your face and walking around with it all day and saying, I can't have it, I can't have it, I can't have it. What are you going to think about all day? You're not going to start thinking about your health. You're not going to start thinking about, gee, I should go to the gym, or the gym would be really good, or, look at what this could do for my heart. No, all you think about is that cake. So that to me is the biggest difference, and why when I looked into very briefly AA, I was like, I didn't know why, but I knew it wasn't for me. And then when I saw Annie's, I was like, that's exactly the difference. So the pause is stop trying to quit. So in her first whole section, where she's going through all of the revealing all these lies that we've told ourselves and all the lies that the media tells us about alcohol and drinking and all these false beliefs, she doesn't want you. I mean, listen, if you're not drinking, great. She's not encouraging, but don't really just don't say I can't have a drink during this, because then you can't be open to hear that. And if you are open to hear that, then you say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Let me hear more. Let me hear more. And then as you hear more, you go, oh, that's it. I get it now. And then it's much easier. And that's why some people listen to that book as I did, and it's instantaneous sobriety. I mean, before I was even done with that, I was like, I have absolutely no desire. I'm never going back. I knew that for a fact, and I never have. Oh, never's a long time. It's been almost 4 years. So
That's
powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. I quit smoking twice. It's been over 40 years since I've smoked, but
that's amazing.
It's kind of the same process. It's like in fact, there was a commercial about it in the 80s. You didn't start smoking like overnight. You had to practice, because anybody that's ever smoked knows that you don't just like start smoking.
Right.
You have to try to smoke because you want to be cool.
Right.
And then when you quit, some people can just quit, but it's helpful if there's some mitigating factor in there that makes you really not want to smoke. Like, I got pregnant and I couldn't even be around cigarette smoke. I was going to throw up.
Right.
It helped me a lot. Much easier. But the second time was harder, because you just had to like not do the things for me, I had to not be around the things that made me want to smoke. Like I quit drinking coffee and I quit drinking alcohol for a while
The triggers, yeah.
because those were triggers for me. Um, and I quit hanging around people that smoked. That helped too.
That's big too. That's big too. Yeah, those are great ways to do it. And to do it on your own is tough. So kudos to you. It doesn't matter how many times you quit, as long as you did it.
Yeah, you just keep quitting.
Yeah, I used
And
to
then
I used to
eventually it
chew
sticks.
I used to chew tobacco which is gross habit, but I did that in college and I played baseball, so that was kind of a thing, and other sports. Um, and that one I wound up got a little sore, and that was easy for me. I'm just like done. And I cold turkeyed that thing, but yeah, but I was around people doing it. That one was a little bit harder, so that wasn't I mean, I cold turkeyed said I was not going to do it. I did have a couple of times where I went back, and then one time, and I'm like, oh, why was I ever doing this in the first place? So it was a very short period of time. So I guess cold turkey maybe is a little overstated, but those are difficult things to do. But again, it comes to like, you either have that, like that, you could consider that a rock bottom, right? I saw like a lip thing and I'm like, I could lose my lip. Like that was enough to say, whoa. So sometimes you have those rock bottoms, and sometimes they're virtual rock bottoms, or they're not actual rock bottoms. Like for me, and this didn't even do it for me. Um, I was out with the kids, and I luckily did not have a drink, but I had thought about having a drink before I went out. We wound up having an accident. And I was like, if I had that drink, like it would have been my fault, even though it totally wasn't. That would have been catastrophic. So that was one of those that just woke me up at night after night, being like, oh my God, had I not made that decision, thank God I made that right decision. But had I made a different one, it could have been drastically different. So, those are the kind of moments that can get that momentum started. Yeah,
Yeah,
tobacco's a tough one. Tobacco's a tough one. Very addictive.
and alcohol's the same way. It's just the slippery slope that you start down. It makes you feel
Mhm.
good, and you think I'm just gonna have one, and you're having fun with your friends, and
Mhm.
then it turns into two, and then you're
Right.
hammered.
Yeah. And then the underlying thing that you said there, and this is so true, and it was true for me, and it's true for so many people, is you started out because it's cool and it makes you fit in. So what's the reason for that? Like we say that when we stop there, but you got to go why, and that's because you don't you don't have that self confidence, let's say, or you have that self doubt, or you have that need for validation from other people. And so a lot of what we work on isn't alcohol; it's that. Right. Those are the underlying things. I mean, Annie talks about three levels. There's the substance, there's society, and there's self. Substance is obvious. Alcohol is bad for you. It's the stuff we put in our cars. The ethanol at the gas pump is the exact same product. Then there's the social. That's what we talked about. It's everywhere. I mean, you can't get away from it. But then the self that's where you really get and dig in, because that's the reasons why you did it in the first place, which is the reason why that belief started. And you got to get to the bottom of that rut to help you get out of it. But those are usually very similar reasons for everyone. Usually,
And
in some form or another, it's that need to fit in.
it's interesting that it's coming around. I mean, we've known for decades that alcohol causes massive problems. And I remember in the 70s and 80s when MAD started, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And
Hmm.
when I was young, it was not uncommon for everyone to be driving around drunk. I mean, adults just didn't think anything about it. And, I
Yeah.
look back and I say adults, but they were like in their 20s and 30s.
Right. Right.
They weren't that
Barely.
old either.
Right.
But they pile all the kids in the car and there were no seat belts. Their idea of a child seat when I was a kid was this flimsy aluminum thing, and they stuck it in the front seats, or they put you in the back on
Right.
the
Right.
dash, the back
Yeah.
dash
Yeah.
underneath the window because
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
warm.
Right. Yeah. My seat was the armrest as a kid, sitting next to dad.
Yeah, yeah, and
Not thinking, and drinking or
and
not drinking, that's where I sat. No seatbelt, no nothing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
drinking beer in the car. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
she's one for the road.
That was legal like not that long ago in certain places. I'm out in Colorado. Yeah, you could have open containers, not the driver when I moved here, but yeah, it's not as far back as
Ohio
it
was the
should
same
be.
way. There was drive-through liquor stores.
We have those. Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that things are shifting in the world. I am not a big fan of telling people what they have to do or what they can
Right.
and can't do, but it's nice to see people stepping up like you that are providing alternative solutions
Mhm.
and alternative that don't require just, suck it up and do it.
Right.
Just like that was the motto in the old days.
Right. Right.
Suck it up.
Or what you really couldn't say today, be a man, right? That was the one we used to get a lot. Be a man.
Yeah, even if you're a woman.
Yeah, right. Man up.
Man up.
Man up, woman. Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't really work
Mm-mm.
very, very often.
No.
And people sometimes they would just give up because it was just like it's just so hard and I'm all by myself and
Mhm.
it's everywhere and I don't really know what to do and I keep trying and I keep failing and there's
Mhm.
no encouragement and there's no I think now we've got a lot more clarity about understanding how trauma affects us in life. And everybody has some traumatic thing that they've gone through because, life.
Right.
That's the
Right.
way it is. But we're
Yeah.
never taught how to cope with that or how to deal with that or how to get the lesson out of the trauma
Yeah.
that we probably came here to learn.
Yeah.
So
And the problem with that man up is you're basically telling someone that they should be able to do it. And then when they try and it's too hard and they don't, what do? What happens then? That's your subconscious has reinforced that belief that you're no good, you suck, you can't do this, you're crap, you're whatever
the
the
mantra
track
is,
that you play in your head. You just reinforced it with another round of it, another round of it. So yeah, it always has the opposite effect.
yeah. But we're moving into a new world.
Yeah, let's hope. We're doing what we can.
I feel it. I talk to people like you every day, and it's just so inspiring that change can be had,
Yeah.
and you change one person. What you did for your family is huge. When you touch another person's life, that family will change too.
Yeah.
And person to person ripples out.
That was the goal, was if I could help one other person get to where I am, I'd be considered a great success. And then I kind of got that and I was like, okay, now I want to do it as many times as I can again. Do it over and over. Because it not only feels good, but it just to see that person feel better is amazing. It's really
Yeah,
rewarding.
and the impact that they have on their family and their
Right.
friends and their
Yeah.
relationships and even
Yeah.
on strangers because they quit drinking. Maybe that person that they would have killed in a car accident
Mhm. Right.
didn't die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a positive ripple effect out there, right? You're sending the good waves out, and everything is connected. So yeah, I try and have the butterfly effect on the positive note out there in my mind when I think about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So how do people get in touch with you?
You can go on my website, forwardmotion.coach. And there's a link on there and you can set up a introductory meeting and we can talk about coaching if that's something you want to do. Or my email, which is just rich@forwardmotion.coach. Those are probably the easiest ways.
Perfect. We'll put
Yeah.
those in the show notes. And what's
Thank you.
the thing that you really want the audience to take away from this conversation today?
I'd really love for people to take away the concept of self-compassion and just being a little easier on ourselves all the time and being a little more curious and not so locked in on what we think we know. And especially around drinking, if you have any of the thoughts about, doing a little too much, realize it's okay. You're not broken, you're not bad. But if you're questioning it, whether it's me or Annie or anybody else, just go out and try it and take a look at it and be curious about it and see if it works for you.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining me today. Rich,
Thank
this has
you.
been
That was fun.
maybe a life-changing conversation for me. So thank
Great.
you.
That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the U World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.